Take a look at the person next to you. Say, God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. The name of love. Now look at the person next to you. Say, I recognize the God in you. Feel the love and the unity. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love. From every walk of life, every creed and color, in kinship we unite.
Here come the high notes.
In honor of the God in each other. Yeah. Oh,
Take a look at the person next to you.
Say namaste, I bow to you.
Namaste, I bow to you.
Feel the love and the unity.
Feel the love and the unity.
Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together.
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 We come together in the
name of love. We come together.
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 We come together in
the name of love.
All right, welcome everyone. How we doing? I have to say, I'm kind of nervous. There's people here. Great to have you all here. Happy Easter, or however you keep the holiday. Welcome. We're delighted to have you with us here today. Those of you joining us online, so saying hello to Reverend Jessica, Reverend Nancy, that they were going to come in, but weren't quite up to snuff today, so we're sending love out their way. And our pal Thibaut out in France, if you're on today, saying hello to you. And if my cousin Martina is joining us in Ireland, so we're a global community today, so welcome. And so please help me welcome our musical inspiration, the wonderful Teresa James. Wow, applause.
Now I'm scared.
And the equally wonderful Reverend Nicole Robbins. All right, so let's just get started by taking a deep, conscious breath and release as we come together for our call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Now, fundamental to this truth is the unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nicole lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. We light the third candle for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. We light the fifth candle for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. We light the sixth candle for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the eighth candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the ninth candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and of course, within our own hearts. And as Reverend Nicole lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We find this flame with faith. We find this light within our own soul. There is one flame, one light within.
It's with this grateful heart that I go within, recognizing this love within myself, knowing that this is the divine spirit, divine intelligence, the divine wisdom that flows so deeply through each and every one of us, knowing that we are never not connected to this source of power, this love, this perfection that radiates through each and every one of us. I know and I declare for the service that it is blessed, that the musicians, that the AV, and the message of Reverend Mike just lifts us from deeper glory to greater glory on this beautiful Easter Sunday. It is such a treasure to be here at the Center for Spiritual Loving. My heart is full, and I'm just so very grateful to spend this Sunday morning with each and every one of you here, and those online, knowing whether you're watching in California, New York, Ireland, London, France, that we are all connected to this energy, and it is just perfect. And so this and so much more, I say thank you, and I release and I let go of my word, knowing it is so. And together we say, and so it is. Wow, good morning. It's so great to see you all here. I haven't spoken at this church with this many people in it in such a long time. It's a little overwhelming to see everyone. So happy Easter, happy Passover, happy Ramadan. Whatever holiday you're celebrating, recognizing the light is back in our lives, knowing that it's never left. I had a very interesting situation happen a couple weeks ago at work that just really reminds me of our teaching. I organize 6 adult teams, amongst other stuff I do, which is about 70 people. And so I have to get 6 teams each weekend, about 35 people to different locations at different times. And I had this one team, and the opposing captain called me, and I didn't answer my phone because I didn't recognize the number. Then I got this text, "Where's your team?" I'm thinking, okay, Saturday, 12 o'clock. No, that team's not playing. Well, that team's playing at 5:30. And I answered the text saying, "I'm sorry, which team are you referring to?" She said, "The ladies 3.0. I'm like, "Oh, they're coming at 5:30. She's like, "No, the match is now at 12. And I was like, oh, and I quickly looked at my email, and she sent me an email earlier that week confirming the match, 12 o'clock on Saturday. And for some reason, I didn't see it. I didn't see the time because in my mind, that match was at 5:30. And I don't know where I saw it because I even went home later on. I looked on the website, and it sure enough said on the website 12 o'clock at Saturday. I didn't see it. I did not see it at all. And it just really brought to me our teachings about how unless we're open to receive, we don't see things. And this is just a small little example of how, like, if we don't see it, it's just not there. Even if it's right in front of us. That email was right in front of me. And the funny thing is, I sent that email to the 18 ladies on the tennis team. Not one of them replied and said, hey, Nikki, why does this email say 2 o'clock? And you told us 5:30. I said 12 o'clock. See, I'm even changing the time now. So it just really brought to my mind our teachings about, you know, like when you meet someone and they have like a white Honda Civic, and then all of a sudden you see white Honda Civics everywhere. You've never seen it before, but now, or you're doing a puzzle. I love to do puzzles. That's my relaxation. And you're trying to do this one section for like 20 minutes, and you can't find the piece, but then you find one piece, and then you do the whole section in 5 minutes. Has that ever happened to you? Because you don't see it, and then all of a sudden it's there. And so I was thinking about this being Easter, and I was thinking about the Bible and the story of Jesus coming out of the cave and how Mary was able to see him, but the 2 disciples who he's walking down the road with for a really long time didn't see him. And so this is just another part of us being aware. Until we're ready, we're not going to see it. And so Mary was ready. She saw Jesus, and she thought he was a gardener at first, but then he said Mary, and then she realized it was her teacher. And then the 2 disciples were with him the whole day, walking down the road, didn't know it was Jesus. And so I think that's just a really great metaphor for us, that until we're ready to see it, it's not there. Now, that can take place as far as a job. If we're searching for a job, a relationship, finances, health, prosperity, it's right there for us, but are we ready to see it? And I found some quotes. There's a quote from Ernest Holmes that says, there is no limit to its manifestation for us except that limitation that we set. So are we setting a limitation, a belief that we can't succeed in something, that we're not worthy of a relationship? Or how about that limiting belief, oh, I'm older now, so of course my back and my knees hurt. Has anyone ever said that? Oh, this age thing, God, it's rough getting old. You know, that is a limiting the belief. And if we really embrace our health and wholeness that our teaching teaches us, we can let go of that limiting belief. And then another quote, we cannot see reality until our eyes are open, until the light of eternal truth has struck deeply into each of our own souls. And then actually in the bathroom here we have by Henry David Thoreau, it's not what we look at, it's what we see. So what are we seeing when we look out? What are we seeing? What are we believing about ourselves? Can we drop that mask, that veil? And as Rumi says, the task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you've built against it. And that can be health, relationships, finances, prosperity, happiness. So for you on this beautiful Easter Sunday, I wish for you knowing that all limiting beliefs just simply drop. The veil that is blocking us from achieving what we really want is simply brought to the light and shown the way. Namaste.
Alarm clock screaming, bare feet hit the floor. It's off to the races, everybody out the door. I'm feeling like I'm falling behind. It's a crazy life. 90 miles an hour, going fast as I can. Trying to push a little harder, wanna get the upper hand. So much to do and so little time. It's a crazy life. It's ready, set, go. It's another wild day when the stress is on the rise. In my heart, I hear you say, just breathe. Just breathe. Come and rest. Breathe in deep and just be. Just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is just breathe. Third cup of joe just to get me through the day. I wanna make the most of time, but I feel it slip away. I wonder if there's something more to this crazy life. Yeah, I'm busy, 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 and it's no surprise to see that all I have time for is me, me, me. There's gotta be something more to this crazy life. Hanging on tight to another wild day. When it starts to fall apart, in my heart I hear you say, just breathe. Just breathe. Come and rest. Breathe in deep and just be. Just be. Chaos calls, but all you really need is to take it all in, fill your lungs, the peace of God that overcomes. Just breathe, just breathe. Let your weary spirit rest. Lay down what's good and find the rest. Just breathe. Just breathe and breathe. Just breathe. Come and rest at my feet and just be. Just be. When chaos calls, all you really need is just breathe. Just breathe.
I think I need to hear that before I speak to remind myself to just breathe. That was beautiful. Thank you, Teresa. Let's give her a little more love. Thank you. There's so many beautiful faces here. I want us to wave hello to some new people who've never been here before, and those who are regulars. It's so great to see you all. So we welcome you all to our center. The announcements for today, Easter Sunday, is that practitioners are available today. And practitioners who are in the room, just raise your hand. I see Kathy and Rosalie and Susie and Reverend Mike and Beverly back there. So if you need prayer about anything, whether it's something that you want to heal or if there's something you just want to make even better, we can do prayer for even better stuff too. So it's not just for stuff that needs to, you know what I'm saying. You can also get prayer support online at CSLGH. And Sherry Gideons is still doing that for us? Among others, online. I'm excited to welcome back our youth church. We are having our youth church the first and third Sunday, but today, since it is Easter, we're having some youths here in the back. Potluck. See, I told you, you feed them, they'll come, Reverend Mike. So today after service, those online, if you want to come on over after, please join us. The LA River cleanup is Saturday, April 15th, so please go to your Constant Contact newsletter to pre-register through the invite link. All right, we're going to do our declarations of principles, which is what we believe. If you wish to stand up, please do so. We believe in one universal spirit, manifesting through all, natural and incarnated in us. We believe that our universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon law of mind, which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the eternity of all life and the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in the eternal goodness, the eternal loving kindness, and the giveness of life to all.
Please sing with me. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be. We let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace wash over us. We let it be.
Yeah, so let's just take a breath on that. So I trust for those of you who observed the holiday that you had a sweet Passover observance. So we welcome you here to the center. Some of you are new, at least new to me, I think. And so it's wonderful to have you here and welcome. And so we have more than 2 fishes and a few loaves over on the other side, so you don't have to depend on my powers to feed us. Is that sacrilege to say that on Easter? So please, if you have the time, please join us and let's get to know each other a little bit. It's good to see some of my friends around I haven't seen probably since before COVID. In fact, for some of us, this may be the most people we've been around in a few years. So I guess we're kind of raising out of our old ways of thinking into something new, huh? So if you are here for the first time and you saw our opening ritual, you see that we do honor all who practice their beliefs and faith and love. And at the same time, one of the great challenges in trying to honor all faiths' paths is when religions and rituals converge in the same time frame. So, and it's also an opportunity to explore why that is. Of course, Passover and Easter, if we know anything beyond cursory things. We know that Passover and Easter are always tied together. We may not know why, just that they are. And this year, the Ramadan fast in the Islamic faith is being observed as well, ending on Friday, April 21st. So we have these three interpretations of what it was that Abraham discovered and unleashed, of course, with God, unleashed on the world. At least that's the narrative from these traditions. It can also be challenging because so many folks come to New Thought centers like this one to get away from traditional religion and the traditional, sometimes fundamentalist ways of seeing God, as we have explored our own spiritual paths, explored our own way of being in the world through our own experience, spiritual experience, where tradition often could not take us. So can anyone here relate to that? Oh, I'm the only one. Right? I mean, things have been changing so much. How could you not, I mean, people are more secular these days. There's no getting around that. Many people are leaving churches. The fastest growing denomination right now are the nuns. Not the nuns like the habits, but the N-O-N-E-S. Those who have no church. The largest growing denomination right now in the U.S. Some churches are demoting saints and then elevating new ones. So, you think you know stuff, right? Particularly when it comes to religion. You think you know stuff. And I found this image of a new saint that I hadn't known before. Now, the way this happened, so you think you know stuff, right? So I grew up listening to Sonny and Cher, boop, 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 right? So I love that song. I love them. I watched them on their variety show doing the whole thing. But I did not know she was a saint. And I thought all this time that she was like an Italian from New Jersey. She's not. She's Armenian from El Centro. You think you know stuff. And then you learn different. And religion is no different. And this can have a direct impact on how we experience faith itself. And this is why it is so important for you and for me to discover what that truth is, so that we can go from simply believing stuff to knowing where the power lies, right? So we can believe that we can be shocked if we play around with the light socket, right? But that we can get electrocuted, right? But it's not until we actually feel the jolt that now we know we're going to be shocked. So this can have a direct impact on how we experience faith, and we want to go from believing into knowing, and to cultivate and embrace those opportunities when they present themselves, which are actually presenting them to us every day if we are attuned to it. So having said all this, for those of us who come from other faith traditions, there is no need to throw the baby out with the bathwater. That Dr. Jamie Lula said this the other night, and I related to it. I'm so grateful to my parents for teaching me to pray, for modeling for me what an ethical life informed by Judeo-Christian values looks like. To understand that faith, hope, and love are key ingredients for a happy life, that the greatest of these, in fact, is love. That I learned to love Jesus, yes, but I also learned to love the Buddha too. That I learned to love the depth of the Hindu tradition. That I've learned to, that I've been inspired by poets like Rumi from the Sufi tradition. right? I want to be able to celebrate all of that too. But I have to say, growing up, I felt more in tune with the Holy Spirit in the Sierras. But that way of thinking was not allowed, because the church with a capital C is where God was found, the way I was raised. But I did have questions. That whole resurrection thing, twice, right? One was Lazarus, and then the big show was Jesus. But Lazarus, the scripture says that he was going off. He'd been in there for a while. And yet he was raised. With breath mints, no. So I had questions about the resurrection. And I knew that AIDS was not God's curse. Even as a naive, resentful Catholic, I knew that wasn't true. And I have to say, some of my Protestant friends were insistent on trying to scare the crap out of me with all that end time stuff, right? Now, I did not understand that the questions that I was asking are questions that spiritual seekers have been asking for thousands of years. Right? There were several Christian churches right after Jesus died. We didn't know this until Nag Hammadi in 45, and then it took them a while to figure out what they said, these scrolls that in Egypt that were found. So more has been revealed. In archaeology, more has been revealed. As scholars learn to deconstruct Scripture, more has been revealed. So I didn't know that these were questions that everybody asked. And I got to tell you, I was ready to chuck the whole religion thing until, oddly, I went to a 12-step meeting and was introduced to the idea of a higher power, where there was a tradition of understanding that all people have their own understanding of the divine. And it was this notion that allowed me to be spiritually curious. Now, understand, you don't need to be a drunk to find a higher power. Just saying. In fact, I don't recommend it unless you happen to be a drunk, right? Or a compulsive gambler, or a drug or debt or sexter, or can't stop eating Girl Scout cookies, right? All you really need is an open heart. And an open heart is the most powerful healing tool we possess. So if you can relate to any of this, maybe you have issues with Easter Sunday as well. I don't know. Frankly, I find it a mighty perplexing holiday. A man who basically taught Judaism, right? He was Jewish. He taught Judaism with maybe more love in it, is tortured, executed by the Romans, and 3 days later was raised from the dead. What's so hard to believe about that? So it depends on what you believe, I suppose. So if you believe that the Bible said it, and I believe it, and that settles it, there's 2 seats up here, you're not going to like this talk much. Because my experience, what I have found is with just a little bit of digging, we find most Bible stories just don't quite add up. At least not as a historically accurate narrative. Now, this does not mean these books are not useful, significant, or inspirational for facilitating a spiritual experience. So, welcome. Glad you could join us today. Hi, welcome. All right. I'll let you get settled there. All right, so welcome. Nice to have you with us today. All right. As I was saying, with a little bit of digging, I find that the Bible stories don't quite add up, at least not as historically accurate narrative. Now, this does not mean that they are not useful, significant, or inspirational for what? For facilitating a spiritual experience. I find biblical writings scriptural as I am able to read them as ancient poetry or ancient wisdom literature, pointing to the divine. Right? Because a lot of the stories in there are about the human condition. Abuse of power. What happens when we let our emotions and our natural urges get the best of us. Right? So there's a story about David, who is a king. He's watching Bathsheba taking a bath, right, from his balcony. And he said, oh, I got to meet her. And, of course, she was married to somebody else, one of his generals, Uriah Heep, right, which you may know as a rock band, but it's actually a real person. Right? So what did he do? He sent Uriah Heep to the front lines where he knew he didn't stand a chance of surviving. He knew this. It was conscious so that he could know her. Right? So the Bible is, the Hebrew Bible is chock full of stories like that. Right? And so they inform people, even modern people, about, the potholes in the road, on the path of spirituality. Now, as for Ernest Holmes, he loved the works and words of Jesus. He absolutely did, yet felt he had been misunderstood. And the bulk of his point, Jesus, that being Jesus, that the bulk of his point had been missed. He drew a distinction between Jesus as a man and Christ as principle, a path by which to attain a state of conscious union with God. Now, Jesus was a man and was Jewish. He kept the traditions of Judaism. It was said that he was a laborer, a carpenter, in fact, we were in the same union, was said to be a laborer, yet in Matthew, he read Isaiah from the scrolls at a time when very few people were literate at all. He spoke freely and openly about God's imperial rule here on earth while surrounded by an imperial occupying army, which is what the Romans were at the time, an occupying army in full force at a time of Pax Romana, which was the 40 years of peace during the time of Augustus. So there was civil wars forever in Rome, and then there was Augustus where they had 40 years of peace. Of course, that was by the sword. And then all of the autocrats afterwards, which eventually led to the decline of the empire. So at a time of Pax Romana, when 3/4 of the population was enslaved, 3/4 of the Roman world were enslaved. When the emperor was worshipped as a god, King Herod was seen, the Jewish King Herod was seen as a Roman collaborator, because he was, that the temple priests were held above all others, and then the underlings underneath. Jesus taught, so in that space, Jesus taught about love, about self-responsibility, and the possibility of bringing his Father's imperial kingdom here on earth. That it was possible for us to be one with the Father. And in that conscious connection with the divine, with our oneness with the Father, that we could bring this kingdom. We could experience this kingdom here on this earth plane. He also foretold the destruction of the temple. Now, this is a big deal because in Judaism at the time, they believed that the only place God could be found was at the temple, which is now where the Temple Mount is today. Still the same place, only one wall is left. Because they finally had pushed the Romans so much, right, this is where Masada and all that comes in, that they actually destroyed, stone by stone, destroyed the temple. And so now, Jews at the time were trying, well, now what the hell do we do? They just took God's house away. He foretold the destruction of that around all of these people in power, that God's love felt on the just and the unjust alike, on the slave and the unslaved. That he was challenging, what he was really doing was challenging the power structure both within Judaism and within the Roman structure. He was getting folks riled up. And just last Sunday, they were calling on Palm Sunday, they were calling Christ the King, he's the Messiah. And they're throwing out palms while he's riding in on a donkey, right? Doing his thing and not arriving as a great general, but on a humble little donkey, right? And 5 days later, tortured to death, nailed on a cross, not to forgive sins, but as a warning to others about who's in charge here. Now, scholars today find all kinds of holes in the stories around Jesus. So Mark, the first gospel, reported an empty tomb without comment. In fact, he said, on finding the tomb, talk about terrified. That's all he said. Scholars added some stuff on the end to kind of clean it up a little bit. And then it's clear that Luke and Matthew have pretty much all of Mark is in those gospels, and then they added some stuff in there. Their own version for their own purposes, because all this stuff was done decades after the fact. Right? Even Paul, who wrote those letters and all that, that was 20 years after the fact. Right? And Paul was kind of ticking off James and John. James and Peter were still around, but he was ticking them off because he kept bringing Gentiles into the deal. So you have Jesus, you have Judaism, which is now redefining itself with this Jewish Christians, if you will, who are still considered Jewish, and in the Jewish fold, finally now moving on, by the time we get to John, moving on as a separate religion and no longer able to reconcile themselves with some of the practices like the dietary stuff, circumcision, as more Gentiles began to join the movement. And then later Gospels then reflected this schism, as then in Matthew and John we find that the Jews then actually become the Jews, quote unquote, become villains in this narrative. And this has had horrible ramifications for the Jewish people throughout history. And today we know this was completely unjustified, even though Jewish teachers at the time tried to make this point, but no one was really interested in listening. Now, if Holmes knew any of this stuff, excuse me, I'm not sure. It's clear he did not focus on it. Remember, his favorite tagline is, "We take our good where we find it." He focused on scriptural references that affirmed the love of Jesus for the Father and the love that Jesus had for people that transcended that time to even this time. A transcendent aspect of love that knows no boundaries of time or space. That Jesus was the great example rather than the great exception. Greater things that he did, we too can do. You know, that could be a what an order I can't go through with it deal, but that doesn't matter. The possibility is there. That he had this ability for utilizing the Holy Spirit as Christ's principle. Now, Holmes put it this way when he said, that's nice. I should have put it up there sooner. Give you something to look at. All right. To practice the presence of God is to awaken within us the Christ consciousness. To think the way Jesus thought. Now, what was it? I am one with the Father, that my word has authority. Christ is God in the soul of man. Christ is God in the soul of all peoples. That the resurrection is the death of the belief that we are separated from God. For death is to the illusion alone and not to reality. God did not die. What happened was that man awoke. Man awoke to life. The awakening then must be on the part of man, since God is already alive. He also wrote in Essential Ernest Holmes, here's a thought that I love. This is Holmes. Here's a thought I love above most other things, Jesus said, that it is the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. It's not earned. It's your birthright. It's for you. It's for me. And he said this, that you and I have never done anything personally to earn this kingdom. It is the gift of life to you and to me. You and I cannot believe, in fact, we dare not believe that we could do anything really to destroy it, to destroy this gift. We may be able to delay the day of our emancipation. We may be able to delay the reality of our own spirits because we are individuals, right? So the free will deal is still in there. But surely that which God has made, you and I cannot destroy. We cannot destroy this gift. It's not about being worthy. Do you get that? It's about allowing. It's about accepting the gift. Accepting the gift. I see the red light, but it's Easter. The accepting the gift. Thank you. Now think about all the ways that we push gifts away in our life all the time. Someone wants to pick up the tab for lunch. Oh, no, you end up, just say yes, thank you. Now, Jesus understood this so perfectly and demonstrated it so completely that we need to have no fear of it. Jesus knew that which you and I have yet to discover. Even Holmes is recognizing that he's still working on this discovery, which is that all men are divine. Not in an egoic, throwing lightning bolts at your enemy kind of way, but a realization, an actualization, if you will, a self-realization that the Spirit of the Most High is within me, and most importantly, knowing that it's within everyone else too. He knew the universe is found in love as well as reason, and we cannot conceive of love desiring to destroy or annihilate that which it has created. So in this way, the idea of a punishing God is not possible. He also believed in the physical resurrection. The physical disappearance of Jesus after this resurrection was the result of the spiritualization of his consciousness. And this so quickened his mentality that his body disintegrated and his followers could not see him because he was on another plane. On another plane. That planes are not places. They are states of consciousness. So here's the thing. As to resurrections and spiritualizations of the body, all that stuff, for me, I don't know about for you, but for me, I'm agnostic. I don't know. I want to know. I have beliefs. I want to know. But I am open and receptive to a divine download of inspiration that has reason and faith within it. I believe in the person of Jesus. I love the teachings of Jesus. I know the Holy Spirit is alive and well in the soul of me and in the soul of all people, although sometimes it is very cleverly camouflaged. I don't get that part. As we grow in awareness of God in us, through us, as us, our life, at the very least, our life gets easier. Our life gets better, at least that. But it also has a positive effect on the people around us. So I practice here in spiritual community. I practice in my marriage. I practice in my business when I had a construction business, with my customers when I had customers. Today, I try and often fail to practice while reading the newspaper or driving in my car. You know, I don't give out half a peace sign anymore, but, you know, so there is growth in that. Now, when I do this, I daily roll away the stone from the tomb of my old thinking, from the tomb of my unbelief. I recommit in an intuitive way to see and experience the world metaphysically instead of physically. I am less likely to become ensnared by the world of conditions and step into a world of infinite possibilities for good, where good phases in and out of this quantum field, of which this plane is but one. The place where hearts are made whole, where water is turned to wine, a place where people appear to be raised from the dead, a place where immortality is easily demonstrated. Now, clearly, something happened back then. And this whole passion story really is the life of any person. Is it important that Jesus rose from the dead? You know, I don't know. But what I do know is that the experience of Jesus we've all had. Who among us has not known the joy of work, the joy of friends, of family? Who among us has not known the pain of betrayal, of being mocked, or even crucified, deceived by friends, or on the job? This is the story of the human experience. It's just a matter of scale. Now, when we become willing to roll away the stone from the tomb of old ways and thinking that keep us held bound, we let the light of Spirit in, that the crooked ways are made straight, the shadows dissipate, and we stand in the sunlight of the Spirit and are raised into remembering that with God, all things are possible. So as we just take a breath with me for a moment. I want to leave you with this as Teresa takes us into our next song. This Easter blessing by the poet David White for his friend, dear friend John O'Donohue, the poet and writer of Anam Cara. The blessing of the morning light to you. May it find you even in your invisible appearances. May you be seen to have risen from some other place you know and have known, in the darkness, and that carries all you need. May you see what is hidden in you as a place of hospitality and shadowed shelter. May that hidden darkness be your gift to give. May you hold that shadow to the light and the silence of that shelter to the word of the light. May you join all of your previous disappearances with this new appearance, this new morning, this being seen again, new and newly alive.
Everybody covets, everybody lies, everybody's done it sometime in their lives. We all slip, we don't mean to. That don't mean you can't make it right. It's the life you live, the gifts you give, and the love that's in your heart. Just let the light keep shining through you. Do the best you can. You don't have to walk on water. It's how you walk on land. Everybody judges everybody else. Everybody's done it to everyone but themselves. We know what's right, but we still go wrong, and life still goes on even when we fail. It's the path you take, the steps you make that make you who you are. It's the life you give, the gifts you give. It's the love that's in your heart. Let the Christ in you keep shining through, and do the best you can. You don't have to walk on water. It's how you walk on land.
So take a deep breath with me. Put your hand over your heart. And in this moment, recognizing and knowing that we have been lifted, that we have risen into a new way of seeing the world where love is the answer, where love is the healing agency, the power behind all of life. And so we take this moment as a moment of reconciliation within ourselves, forgiving ourselves for any perceived transgressions, understanding now that they were simply an error in thought, a poor choice, remembering who and whose we are. That from this place of conscious healing within our own hearts, that we extend this with others, that we figuratively bring them into the secret chamber of our own heart, where forgiveness and reconciliation begin. In the ways, great and small, within ourselves, within our relationships, within our companies, within our governments, within our planet, within the universal community of which we are just learning, taking these baby steps, that we recognize and know the infinitude of the Most High is in some crazy cosmic way present in and through all of it. That we are now willing to step out of that old way of thinking, that we are rolling away the stone of hard-heartedness, of arrogance, of spiritual arrogance even, thinking we know better. And instead now, knowing that we are moving from those fields of right doing and wrongdoing, that there is another field. Let us come together there. In peace, in love, serenity, and harmony. And so it is.
It's the path you take, the steps you make that make you who you are. It's the life you live, the gifts you give. It's the love that's in your heart. Just hold on to that light in you and be the best you can. You don't have to walk on water. It's how you walk on land. No, you don't have to walk on water. It's how you walk on land.
Teresa James, everyone, let's give her some more Easter love. That sounded kind of creepy the way I said that. I didn't mean it to. All right, let's, Chloe, if you wouldn't mind bringing. So we've been doing the offering this way for those of you who are new visitors. If you've come prepared with an offering today, it's not required, but if you have, just make your way to the basket as it is free and open. For those of you online continuing to support us generously, just know that it is appreciated. And so we're just going to go into our offering song, maybe 2 verses, and allow you on time online.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, through us, Spirit gives through us, Spirit receives through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us. Oh, Spirit lives and breathes through us.
Okay, so let's just take a deep breath going within just for a moment longer as we recognize that this basket represents both the heart of the individual and the heart of this spiritual community. The heart of the individual, by whatever means you support our spiritual community, whether it's through online giving, through the mail, or here in person. That we know for all of it that it is the demonstration of the individual which knows and knows that it knows that God is our source, our substance, our supply. So now as this spiritual community, we accept these gifts with deep love and respect, as we know together they go forth to heal, to prosper, and to bless not only this spiritual community, but anyone connected to it in any way. That from this place of gratitude, we extend a blessing to our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, and all of its various water systems, for our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them, that we know for our planet as well, that all of it is an emanation from the creative impulse of life as we understand it to be. And to the extent that we know this to be so, we see its demonstration in ways great and small. This lifts our hearts. We feel a sense of power and grace that propel us into ways of spiritual living that raise not only our own lives, but the lives of those around us as well. And that's a good thing. I know further for those of us who are sticking around for lunch, and I hope that's all of you, that this food is now blessed by means of this treatment, that we are blessing it together. You're welcome to stay with us. That we know that the foods go to the places that serve us and is easily expelled where the places we don't need it. And to support our bodies in ways of vitality and strength. So taking a deep breath, just releasing all of that, knowing it's done, knowing it's so. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. So thank you, all of you joining us online. It's been a happy Easter to you. Let's give some love to Teresa James one more time. here and in the chat. And invite Reverend Nicole up. And thank you for being so attentive. There was a lot of history in there and nobody nodded off, so good job. All right.
Grateful heart, I say thank you for the service, knowing the right and perfect words were heard and received by each and every one. Knowing as we go out through this next week, releasing any stones that are blocking our way, letting that rock go, dropping that sack, knowing that all is well and good. And as they said in the Bible, it's my pleasure to give you this fine Easter feast. And so with a grateful heart, I say thank you. And we just release and let go, and together we say, and so it is.
If y'all would like to join in singing with me and join in a circle, it's going to be a big circle, though. Yeah.